still says, okay, mine says live.
We're on air now.
Okay. Do you want to start?
I guess so.
Okay.
So my name's Brian Sawyer, and I live in Detroit, Michigan, just a little bit north in Ferndale. I am currently 32 years old, and I volunteered back in 2006 for Storm Corps' ASB for Hurricane Katrina Relief. And I currently work as a support manager for DSW and am finishing my degree at Wayne State in psychology.
All right. Well, my name is Lindsay Holder. I live in Lee Summit, Missouri, which is a suburb right outside of Kansas City, and I am currently a high school English teacher. So I also volunteered with Brian in 2006 in Biloxi and in Foley, Alabama. Yeah.
Also,
didn't we?
Also, currently, I run a nonprofit called Handy Hearts here, 501c3 founded in southeastern Michigan, and we focus on the cancer patient and caregiver where insurance is lacking.
Oh, that's awesome! I didn't know that you were doing that, Brian. That's awesome.
Yeah, 2014, we actually got our 501c3.
Oh, so, that's great. Yeah, that's great.
In about a year, so we had really good timing to it.
Oh, good. Well, that's awesome.
Oh, let's pull up some of these questions.
Yeah. So I guess before we ask questions, like let's talk a little bit about our time there and how we went from Biloxi, where everyone was kind of gathered right in the back of that church on Pass Road in Biloxi, and how then we ended up moving to Foley and formed the Love Shack. So let's talk about that first. We got to get that out of the way before we go.
How about getting there? Like how we apply? What about how we applied or something?
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, so how did you apply? Did you see it on MTV? How did you go about doing that?
So I seen the PSA announcement on MTV, and I knew that was exactly what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
We applied less than a month before we went down and found out just a few weeks prior.
Right.
And they took 100 students, one boy, one girl, 50 from all 50 states, down to Biloxi, Mississippi, kind of on a whim. And we just went down and volunteered and really made a difference. We didn't know each other going down. We didn't know the team leaders. We didn't know each other. We just knew ourselves, and we kind of got thrown into it and loved every minute of it.
Oh, yeah, I know. I think definitely my favorite parts was going to Foley and like the small group that went. I don't know. That was just so much fun, and being in the Love Shack and getting to work on Miss Mary's house. Like, I think we definitely had a different experience than the people that stayed in Biloxi. And I think we had a lot more fun experience. So I'm glad we got to do that.
So I flew into New Orleans, and then we took the van ride into Biloxi. And
right.
We showed up. It was a church in the backyard, was our tents and showers. And I mean, literally, it was a military tent. Inside that was tents with pallets. And that was it. The shower was about a 30-second shower outside with no roof, no ceiling. It was just like a part. There was about 6 plugs in the entire building for over 100 students, 10 team leaders.
Oh, yeah.
And staff and volunteers. So it was definitely a crazy environment just to walk right into.
Oh, it was. And I think, with it being the first year, they were not really as, prepared as I'm sure they've been in years past that. Because I remember we had no water, no drinks, and it was just like very primitive. Like it was totally weird. And I didn't have to fly in actually, because I was attending Ole Miss. And so I just drove down to Biloxi. I'm actually from a place really close to Biloxi. So I go there all the time, and I know that area very well. But it was just totally a different environment when we got there, especially dealing with the hands-on people and our mix of people. So it was definitely interesting, the first couple of days for sure.
Yeah, when you drove in from the airport into it, you just saw the destruction. We were literally like a mile from the coast, and we're in really the thick of it in Biloxi, Mississippi, where we're at.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely.
So the first few days on Saturday and Sunday, we really did a tour and some bonding and really got to see the destruction that Katrina did, which was just where Biloxi was where the eastern eye wall was hitting from Hurricane Katrina, and some of the worst hit areas were in Biloxi and Pass Christian and Waveland.
Right.
And then people, obviously the pressure was on New Orleans, but they kind of forgot about Biloxi kind of as a sense of amnesia.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
We're there to really kind of support ground zero and rebuilding those communities.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And, the thing with New Orleans was the levee system broke in New Orleans. That is what happened there, and that's why the city flooded and whatnot. But, yeah, I mean, the brunt force of the hurricane came into Pass Christian. So I always have to remind people of that, and I'm glad you said that, because Biloxi still now with the 10-year anniversary is being forgotten. And so that really makes me upset, just because, it is still devastation in Biloxi. I remember as a child, there were restaurants and shops all along the beach, and now they are no longer there. They were totally wiped out by Katrina, and they have not rebuilt. And I mean, so it's just even 10 years from Katrina, you still have that devastation. It's never going to go back to the way it used to be.
Yeah, people totally forget or don't understand the length of time it takes to rebuild. And
Right.
areas like if one person wants to rebuild but nobody else does, like what do they do with the land and how do they come about that? And
Right.
do they do new project developments? And it's a lot of work that people don't understand exactly how it all happens.
Oh yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well, myself, Lindsay, and a few other people, about 30 of us, on Sunday night, late night, crammed ourselves into like 2 vans with luggage and everything we brought with us. Me and Lindsay literally sat on each other's laps like the whole way into Alabama, and it was just an intense ride into Foley and into our stains at the Love Shack, as we called it.
Oh yes.
So some teams, about 70 of the participants, stayed within Biloxi to help rebuild right on the Gulf Coast. And 30 of us were moved to Foley, Alabama to help finish up some Katrina relief and some, I think it was Hurricane Ivan that hit prior, we were cleaning up from. And we were really lucky on the project that we got to be on to really kind of see this house through.
Oh yeah, I loved working on Miss Mary's house. She was so nice, and I could not believe that she had been living in that FEMA trailer for, I think it was 3 or 4 years. I don't exactly remember, but it was several years. But she was just so grateful to have a roof over her head, to have someone helping rebuild her home. And she was just the nicest, sweetest lady. And I'm definitely not a builder, but I did enjoy the things that I could do to help her with her home. So she was awesome.
I don't think any of us were a builder. I remember me and Maddie, who I still talk to today after 10 years, having to do, the contractor's like, okay, you got to fill in this window for the bathroom. And we're both like looking around like, do you know how to do that? And she's like, no, do you? I'm like, absolutely not. And we kind of just winged it and learned, and you kind of just do it. And it all worked out great. We were so proud of ourselves once we finished it.
Well, that's the thing. I think a lot of people don't realize that even if you don't have a particular skill set, that you can still help. Like there'll be someone there to kind of navigate you through it. And even if not, you can help paint, you can help clean. I mean, there's so many things that you can do without having to know how to build walls and build in windows and things like that. So anybody who's looking to volunteer, your services are always needed no matter what skill set you have.
Yeah, some of my best memories were obviously the people and stuff, and still talking to you and John and everyone else, and Brian and Adam, and going back for more to volunteer. But then also the hospitality, take you in open arms. They have nothing to give, but they will feed you. They will give you everything they have in order to show their appreciation to you. And taking that away is really big, to come back and feel like it was home and miss them completely.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think the biggest, memory I have was obviously meeting my husband there. But, and also it was the people too. I totally agree with you. It was just, we had so much fun with everyone. And like you said before, we didn't know each other coming into this. We really had only seen ads on MTV to apply. We applied blindly, basically, for something that had never, gone down before, I guess you could say. And so, we got there and we just all bonded. And I think most of us are still Facebook friends, and we keep in touch occasionally. And it's just always brings back awesome memories from that week. And, I get to be with my husband every day and remember the first time that we met, when he made fun of me for the way I said y'all. He made my accent, and that's how we met. And we've been together ever since. So, it was just an amazing time. And actually, it's funny, at our wedding, we had to have a signature drink, and it was the Hurricane, since that's how we met, with Hurricane Katrina. So it was just an awesome week.
That is awesome. I didn't know that. That's even better.
I know. Yeah. So, we had to bring that in there.
Let's see what other questions are on here.
Yeah. Let me pull it back up.
So some of the questions are, would you recommend others to take part? Which we kind of answered. What would you tell someone who is going to Alternative Spring Break for the first time? So that might be a good question.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'll start first. I think I would tell them just to go in with a totally open mind, expecting anything to happen, basically. Definitely, you know, don't worry about what skill set you bring or what you think you're going to be involved with. Just go in with open arms and your whole heart and just try to help as much as you can. And, you know, definitely you will definitely be needed no matter what you can do. But just go in and just expect to have a crazy week, an awesome week, meet some awesome like-minded people, and just have fun. Don't worry too much about it. Don't stress too much over it. Just go in and know you're going to have a great time no matter what ends up happening.
Yeah, I feel like I can relate to a lot of like reality TV from it. Like those who they get this really good bond together. Like people at Jersey Shore with MTV or Real World or Big Brother, whatever it is, they have this great experience, and that's kind of what you get. Like you get that whole reality TV show kind of in your own little world, which is kind of fantastic. And so if you go in with no expectations, you're going to be blown away by what you'll learn, the friends you'll come out of it, the memories that we're still talking about 10 years ago.
Yeah, 10 years later. Yeah, no, definitely. I would definitely encourage anyone, you know, to definitely do ASB for sure. I mean, it's just going to change your life. You might end up meeting your future husband or your future wife or friends for life. So just go in it with an open mind and have a blast.
So the other question I thought was pretty good too, which we're probably giving them way too much content, but that's fine.
That's okay.
Okay. I guess, how did ASB storm cores affect your life in a big or small way? So how did ASB and storm cores affect your life in big or small ways?
Well, obviously with my marriage, that's a big way that it affected me. But two, you know, I was at home, which I live about 45 miles north of Biloxi when Hurricane Katrina hit. It came through in the middle of the night. And I remember being in our hallway and just being totally scared to death, you know, not knowing what was going to happen. Luckily, only our yard was really torn up, a few power lines down. But, you know, we were without power for a month. I had to wait in line to get gas. You know, it took 4 hours to get 10 gallons of gas. So, I mean, when you're in that, you don't really know how you can help someone else because you're just so lucky that, you know, you're alive, your family's alive, your house is intact, you didn't lose anything, didn't have any flooding, whatnot. And so I think, you know, after dealing with, you know, no power for a month and different things like that, I actually went to North Mississippi to visit some friends just to kind of get away from it all. And so I think that doing ASB, it kind of brought me back down to knowing that there were other people who went through far worse than I did, and that in any circumstance like that, you need to reach out and help others. Even if you are going through it yourself, know that someone else always has, you know, has it much worse than you do, and just be willing to help. You know, don't worry about yourself for a minute, go out and help somebody else. And I think that's what ASB really did for me, was made me realize that, you know, I really do have a servant's heart and I want to be able to help others.
And for me too, like, I still today volunteer. I run a nonprofit. You know, I always look to give back, but being north, we don't see hurricanes. We see some tornado destruction, but nothing like what I got to witness firsthand. Videos and pictures and you feel bad, but when you're living it, it's a whole different story.
Exactly.
And so to bring my story back and to continue relief work and help from up here to get supplies brought down or funding or research or just advocacy to let them know what's going on and how it works was so big for me to share with my friends and family and companies and everything else who really have no idea what it's like to go through a hurricane so devastating as Hurricane Katrina.
Exactly. And I mean, even when Jonathan and I go to visit my parents, you know, a lot of times we'll go to the bridge that connects Ocean Springs to Biloxi, which you and I visited, you know, where we all visited that area. And I remember it just being rubble. I think even Jonathan brought back a few, you know, pieces of concrete from that bridge that is so demolished. So every time I drive over it, it just takes me back to when we went to visit it and just that devastation, you know. And I talked about earlier how they still have not rebuilt a lot of Biloxi. But they have rebuilt a lot of it, as you know. Right. And so it just brings you back to see how far they've come and how now you would never know that that bridge had been totally demolished and how much devastation there had been in that area if you go visit today. So it always brings me back. It's nice to see that, you know, things are kind of back to normal in a lot of ways, but it definitely still brings you back to that time because it was just a devastating tragedy is what it was.
I think seeing that bridge really brought reality to why we were there. That bridge, people have no idea what it is. This huge span of bridge of concrete was like a game of dominoes, all tumbled over, every piece knocked off its foundation. And I don't even know how you'd even start rebuilding from that. And I remember sitting in a circle and kind of going back and forth of what did it mean to us and seeing that. and standing in the middle of rubble pile, like what used to be a hotel and these casinos and stuff, and just standing there and bear nothing. And what people don't know is the casinos in Mississippi were on barges and in the water. And those casinos became almost battery rams with that water surge, that storm surge coming into and demolishing neighborhoods. It's absolutely devastating to see.
Well, and what happened, like the favorite casino we used to go to, which was the Grand Casino, it was on the Gulf side. And so when Hurricane Katrina came, it actually blew it across the street. And that casino was massive. I mean, it had this huge, like Broadway almost theater, had a huge hotel, and it basically picked up where it was and went across the street. I mean, it was just crazy. And they still have not rebuilt that either. I think Margaritaville came in and was going to build this huge casino, and then it didn't end up working out. So every time I drive by there, it's just like a piece of your childhood is gone. It just looks totally different.
I guess we could say a little about our arrangements in the Love Shack.
Yeah, I guess we can.
There's some great pictures on Facebook about it. Like, I forgot that Fletcher made a bridge and slept over the beds.
Yes.
At one point, I think you, me, John, Maddie, I think that whole group, we pushed our beds together the last night. And
yeah, I think we did.
It was just an intense situation. We had so much fun. I mean, we were doing water balloon fights. We were making up fun. We didn't have phones. We didn't use Facebook. We didn't use computers. We just had fun being around each other, and it's just an experience to really enjoy.
Oh yeah, definitely. The Love Shack was definitely one of my favorite parts. Just, you know, everybody, I think we called you Queen with John, like everybody in there. It was just so much fun. And that's what I think, you know, that's why I'm so glad that I was a part of the small group that got to go to Foley. Not to take away anything from what the group did in Biloxi, but I think we really, really bonded since there was just such a small group of us. We were crammed into this little dormitory style bunk bed room, I guess you could say. And we just all had a blast. It was awesome. I think we made posters. Yeah, we made posters when the Biloxi people came to let them know that was called the Love Shack. I'm pretty sure we did.
We did. I just remember, like, we showed up to Biloxi and like, oh, here's this military tent with pallets. So we slept there a few days, 3 people in this tiny tent. I brought my own tent, which was still crammed with 2 other people that I met. But then we moved to Foley. It was like staying at the Ritz-Carlton. We had bed plumbing, which was huge.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, still was roughing it, but it was definitely a little bit better than that tent.
We had a shower. We had like a proper shower and a proper toilet. And then we got to eat at Live Bait and Lambert's and all those fun places while everybody else did it. So, you know, it was great. It was fun.
It was fun. Oh, Lambert's, the home of the home-thrown rolls.
I know, I'm telling you, Jonathan did not believe me that we had one down there because the people are from Missouri. And so the only other 2 restaurants are here in Missouri. And I was like, yeah, there's a Lambert's. So I just thought that was pretty funny. He did not believe there was one down in Foley.
Yeah, I want to go down there just for that again.
I know, it's so good.
I guess we could just kind of end it. Anything you want to add, or maybe someone they can take away with, or what people, I don't know. So anything else you want to add, Lindsay, or anything from John that he remembers, or?
Well, you know, he just remembers meeting me, and that's all he remembers. I'm just kidding.
That's all he should remember.
Yeah, that's all he But no, I think the takeaway from it is, you know, it's almost 10 years later since we volunteered, and there's still areas of the coast that could use people's help. There's still people down there volunteering. So I think realizing it's never too late to help, you know, volunteer with, you know, your community, volunteer at your church, volunteer at a hospital. It doesn't matter where you volunteer, just, you know, help others. I think that's the biggest thing, is help others and just see what big blessings that you will get in return in your life. And so that's kind of, I think, the takeaway is just for people to, you know, to try to get out there and help in a big or a small way in their community.
And my other takeaway too, living here in Detroit, we kind of have our own natural disaster of urban sprawling. And we brought students up back here, 50 students as the ASB program here in Detroit. And they were like, what disaster hit us? And that is urban sprawl in the automotive field. So it doesn't have to be hurricane related. It could just be helping your neighbor, helping someone down the street, your local agency or nonprofit, or anything you're passionate about. It doesn't have to be this big travel across the country and make a difference. It's your back door is the most important way to make, anyways, Lindsay, me, and 100 other people, we were able to kind of start this movement with United Way and continue it until to this day as an ASB Alternative Spring Break program, starting from 1 week out of the year down to multiple weeks in multiple cities across the country. So it's great to be part of this movement that's constantly building, and our family of ASB is constantly growing as well, and our network of such great young adults making a difference every day.
Yeah, definitely.
Trying to give them good sound bites. We'll see what they take.
I know, yes. Hey, I don't know how many people are doing this video, so it might just be the Brian and Lindsay show. Who knows?
Well, the thing is like, I got offered to go back in 2013 for Hurricane Sandy relief work. MTV flew us to New York, and it was kind of cool though. But it was not a normal ASB by any means.
Oh yeah.
We had our own hotel room. Like we had a production.
Definitely assistant. Not roughing it or anything like that.
No, I mean literally our whole own hotel room, each team. They're not shared, nothing. Like
wow, that's crazy.
I had a driver. I was like, what did I get myself into? This is an ASB. It was just the weirdest.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah. And then after Storm Cores, I went down to Lake Charles, volunteered for 3 weeks there. And then I went into Biloxi the year after for 2 weeks as well. And then got to work in Waveland and Pass Christian and all these areas that were literally the eastern eye wall, where cars were stacked on top of 30-foot buildings, and just some crazy stuff that I got to see throughout the years, and seeing the progress too. But it's a 25, 50-year rebuilding process. It's not an overnight success.
Oh, definitely. Well, I mean, Hurricane Camille happened, I think, in the 70s, and there's still areas that have not been rebuilt from that hurricane. So, I mean, you know, I think every time a hurricane comes and just pretty much, you know, demolishes an area, it's never going to come back the same. I mean, you're going to rebuild like that bridge. They had to rebuild that bridge. So, I mean, some things you're going to have to rebuild and whatnot, but some things are just never going to be the same again. But, you know, if you can just help people, you know, have a roof over their head, help them with their groceries, you know, whatever you can help them with, it makes a huge difference in their lives.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So I think we're good. So if I hit stop recording, I don't think you'll go away, right?
I don't think so, but try it.
Okay.